he raised himself. My grandpa kind of left the place, the kids to themselves. The beautiful grandma married a more stable fellow and wealthy. And so I met my aunts and uncles who, were willing to talk about their immediate military service soon as they got of age. Still going on today in our world, right out of high school. And they respected their service. And my uncle was in the military, a little older. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. He was a commanding officer there with military actually going in and removing the Germans and then getting forced back or called back to go in the hills, and unfortunately got hit with a bad winter and couldn't move or do anything. So it was difficult for him. And a lot of the things that they would not talk about, they talked about in groups that came together quietly in the corner of our house, finally in Levittown, which was, I thought it was going to be a farm, because when I saw it, maybe 3 or 4, it was a big field. And it became a whole bunch of little houses. And I loved it there because it was like there was all kinds of new people. My mom was really open to meeting people and trying different picnic communities, different than ours, different religion, different race, all that stuff. She was pretty well into it and very smart. I thought always, why'd you bother becoming a mother? Because you're better off in explaining things that are too complicated and dealing with the world problems. Unfortunately, my family was drinking very young with many people, and I saw the after effects of that as a kid too. Didn't learn anything. Just felt I felt a lot of what else was going on in my life. What I saw with men who were supporting each other as I would understand it to be now, without any dialogue, sitting in a circle, shoulder to shoulder in a corner of a room. They probably talked outside. One man once, is all I remember, who was not able to control his emotions. But he was younger than those guys, and I didn't know that. He was back, I'd been in the Corps in Korea and had experienced some things, which it turns out he was very brave, and he actually did made an effort to really help other men. And but still, he was, as he grew, life is different at home. You change in the service sometimes. Sometimes it's difficult to accept that there's no real experience that's the same as another guy. They don't want to talk. They're fine. Or my dad sometimes would start to talk and have to clear his throat. I asked him, how come you lived and all those other men were dead, were killed? And that took a breath. And he sat up and put his drink down. And I was about 4 or 5. And he looked me in the eye. Training. And I felt that. And the experiences dealt with that had the availability of alternate thinking and behavior, maybe, only because of training. And service was evident. Men tried to help, and they did when they could, as my dad did, but he couldn't. He lost them all. And he really didn't like them. They were white supremacists. He grew up shooting baskets at 14 with the black community. That's where they lived. There was no money in that time, really, for a lot of people. And communities kind of got to know each other a little bit better, which I think helped going into the 50s. I watched that go on. A little more Republican conservative and a little more, not as much conservative, at least in New England. And a lot of college kids went down south and got hung. So trying to help with civil rights. So time flies. Now we're in a whole new time, and there's many men and more women in active duty as officers. And I met a group of fellas in one recovery that I'm involved with, and they got some of the newer guys through it, and then they took me to a camp that was for recovery and military service, but also just recovery in life too. Some guys like me got invited, and it was really a new look at real good effort taking place and consequences of effects on people being dealt with, mental health, other areas, not just getting diagnosed and by. And a lot of diagnosis, oh, well, he was born that way. He's got it in his genes, or she does. And there was many men and women, though, who I watched working together in those camps and getting married and going on and having that support available anytime they want. A phone call, whatever. I get calls sometimes. And so, it's part of what we are forming still in this country is communities. There's a study that my son's involved with, which is evident to me in how many generations have been affected by the activities in different times, and maybe the same, but it's not the same. It's always going to be a new time, new challenges, with the two words, service and sacrifice. And a lot of knowledge goes into the recovery. You get, what can I do? What do I not want to do? I don't want to maybe be exposed anymore. Only the people I can let in to my sphere or my life and move forward, which is what happened in the 50s. It became liberal with progressive Republicans moving forward to a point, because a lot of men like my father would stand up for clients and get fired. And that's more evident today than ever before. It's all up there somewhere. That up there for now is I have a choice in my life with recovery. I still have to do a lot of work, but if I do the work, I can let it go. And when I'm listening to guys who have served and sacrificed body parts, injury, stress, welcome to the club. I'm a good talker, too much so, and I really, when people want to talk to me about what they got going, it means a lot.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you here, and your focus on so many things I've heard you should talk about. And one of the most important pieces, it sounds to me, is like pacing yourself, talking to other men and women about these things, opening up. You've brought that up before, and the fact that you've been such a great actor in so many different movies that portray signs and symptoms of PTSD, family. Obviously,
well, there's another film that actually
seeing how your dad was dealing with it, you were able to kind of pick that up and actually utilize it.
Yes, to its most and my grandpa,
realistic potential.
He became reclusive to drink,
isolation,
and made it clear to the children, whatever's left in that little house, it's yours. Don't look for me. My aunt did, and she knew where it was. My dad brought him to live with us, and he had shame and he was always quiet. He was allowed 2 beers at the bar, and he was they were all athletes on my dad's side and alcoholics, but they were all athletes, champion swimmers, divers, runners. He was a runner, Grandpa. He won championships, running distance, running short speeds and whatever. And he survived in Verdun at the attack from gas, which men died from choking on their own vomit and stuff, and 20 miles of men in a trench. And about 20,000 men, 1,000 per mile, died. And he had his stress sleeping. My dad had battles with people trying to save people, maybe. So they had two separate beds because he was big.
Right.
But he was so calm during the day. And the other men who had served, I would be introduced on their choice to say hello. Or most of them didn't talk to me about what they were doing in a group there, what they were talking about or talked about. And, but they did. My mother was a snitch. She
In little
knew
pieces,
everybody and everything, and my dad's past with his family and work, and then Cora, and it was his thing. 17 years old, they took him. And now I don't think it's much different. If the kid got an idea at 14 years old, that's what he's going to do. School doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Things are just too. I want to jump out of a plane. They think, and it's. I think basic training does have a great deal, or it's changed a little bit, according to my understanding, but not enough, not a lot. I mean, not enough to make a difference that people don't have that advantage. I see a lot of men that can't get through basic training. I watch young guys go in, and they want to be in the Marines or whatever, but it's all tough. You got to try to just get through it. So it is a lesson for life.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And it's great that you're able to pick up on that and actually understand some of these things that your father was going through, your grandfather, that he had to have the bed space because he was trying to save people in his sleep. Because I contribute that a lot to carrying two burdens. One is a burden of combat, which is very seldom shared amongst society because there's no room for it. There's no place for it. It doesn't translate into a way of life, but it's a way of life that kind of took part of us and changed us in ways that now we have to come back and fit into society, and we still got to take out the trash. And yesterday we were in charge of saving lives.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the value and satisfaction come from that?
A lot of that, and also just sitting alone in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
Or with a squad.
A lot of that.
Maybe some guy you don't like. I don't think squads never went too far when people didn't like each other. After basic training, no. This is it, and but I have seen cliques of men, whether they're an organized police force or former military. There's like some people my dad stayed away from. Gung ho. Yeah, hey. He was able to handle himself. Sometimes with a sense of humor, asking someone politely to stop screaming in the bar or cool it. My wife isn't here and her friends are here. And then I get twice as loud. So he'd shrug and walk away. But he knew how to block a punch. He got knocked down once by a guy who was a big guy sitting at the bar. He's screaming and yelling. He did his shrug. I wasn't there. And the guy popped him. So he avoided it but tripped. Fell down and just started laughing. And that was my mother's joy, watching this big boyfriend, husband get flat, get knocked. But he didn't take it to another. The guy got up and left. And that's the story. But once sitting in a bar, he was friendly with people in the community with almost a point of action. The hand was big. And he would see somebody mowing the lawn and he'd kind of trudge over, come with me, and I'd walk. And I grew up in Levittown from about 4 to 10, maybe younger, 8. Then we moved again. But he would take me places, and I met men he grew up with that went from Army in Europe and had lived.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them were black and some Italian. We went to one place, the guy was starting, he had a pizza place in Queens or Brooklyn, and he had 3 tables, I think, and I sat at one, got a slice. And the two of them sat together talking, being really, excited about this place. 25 years or 20 years later, I drove by and the whole block was his family name at the top.
Wow.
The whole family from Italy,
Yes.
And my dad was real. My mom and I would go to eat there, everybody. And so there were, and times of acknowledgement by my grandpa and my dad. My grandpa answered the question that I'd asked my dad differently. And it might have been, they respected each other despite my grandpa's alcoholism and going away. He knew, he knew what my grandpa could do and couldn't do. What are you going to do? So he couldn't really raise a family. He couldn't really be there for them. But he did work, and then got to a point when they decided to go in the military. That was enough. But they kept him from going all the way, found him, brought him to live with us, and he was damaged now from the activities that he did while drinking. He was drinking, damaging his joints. He was a champion, probably injured things, but he would, like my dad had that huff too, standing up. And then you hear him grunt. He had to walk to the bar. 2 beers, bartender knew, and walk back. Sometimes I'd see him like, stop. He was in pain.
Oh,
he made it for years, But,
you got to have a sense of purpose no matter what you do.
And he loved to sit
you're still
and
going
watch
to make
us.
it.
The kids were small, and he would laugh sometimes, just laugh at us. TV was on. And I caught that, it's like, he's good, he's okay. Because he didn't talk. I did try to question him once or twice. And my dad was coming down the stairs, which he has to duck for. And he stopped right in the duck. And I caught him out of the corner of my eye. But I'd already asked the question, how did you live when so many others died? My father stopped and was just waiting. He nodded to my grandpa. And my grandpa paused and he said, drinking and smoking. And my dad just shook his head. And they had an inside joke kind of laugh. And, oh, God, but that's the way in the 50s, everybody was drinking and smoking. But to him, that was a big deal. So he didn't smoke or drink anymore. Not in the house. Well, he drank at the bar, but no smoking. 2 beers. These little places in our life that I find personally identifying for myself in my life, though it may be different, I have to let go of things. Not criticize, not judge too much myself. Mostly it requests to me make more movement, body. However, it's right. I couldn't move at all. I got a new hip. I realized I didn't have any pain anymore. My whole life, pain in that one area. Sciatic, hip, gone. I'm walking and jogging for miles today. These days. And sometimes I'm stuck here. I'm out of work. I'm giving money to my family members that are struggling. And other people that just, oh, God, And I can't afford it.
Right.
I made a little bit of money. And at my age, still, I'm 74. I'm doing okay. I got saved some money. Thanks God for an accountant or two to just put a lock on stuff.
Yeah.
But still, the acceptance of, I don't know. Okay, let it go. I don't know. What should I do? I don't know. Don't do anything. Pause.
Pause.
Take a call. You guys call me. I'll go. I mean, it gives me a chance to talk.
It's great.
I don't want to talk to just anybody.
Right.
I'll lose money. But I'll tell you, this PTSD program is new in a way now. I might have been aware of it years ago. I know about that and I'm familiar with it. But this is a great idea. There's so many good groups that have been started. Wounded Warrior, they helped this film. I was going to mention this film.
Right.
Last Full Measure. Peter Fonda's last film. Like he had cancer while we shot, like John Cazale and Deer Hunter. But we wanted him in the movie. And he was fabulous. A guy that lived in the woods with his wife who also served. Went out to fight the enemy at night. One of them married into my family. And they both had to live in the woods until they started to write children's books. Got a little better. It took him years. But he was a good guy, a nice guy. But sometimes whatever works to change your mind is something I've seen men and women now more do in order to not fall into a trap, which is available to me. Depression, maybe just head injury, other stuff. I'm watching a cartoon. What's wrong? Or something sensitive about somebody saying something honest. Oh, I got to do my dad's thing.
Right. You learn from your grandfather today. Hey, let's take a quick break real quick. A PSA is going to come on for the VA. And then I want to hear some more from you. It's great. I talk a lot on this show. Hey, but we'll take a quick PSA. Thanks.
Thank you.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
All right. Hey, we're back, and I got John Savage on deck, actor, American actor, great guy, talking about his father, his grandfather, his connection to the military, and why it's such an important thing. In his acting, he's done so many different acting things that relate to PTSD, relate to the combat scenario, and so many other things, including recovery. And we're going to talk about recovery a little bit, if you don't mind giving us some of that.
Not at all. On the film, The Last Full Measure, I started to talk to you just now.
Right.
Was pretty much based on a full, true story of which was not allowed, and several things that are not disclosed for years. 600 men being commanded to go into an area in Vietnam that there's no escape, and I don't know how many miles of tunnels of men that just come up out of nowhere, out of trees, with artillery. And think of our artillery and the man who played this part. I don't remember names that well, but they were such good actors. And some of the older folks that I love as actors, they're gone now. But in that movie, this idea of how it affects our world and people who love us, everybody in some way, and all kinds of emotions. And like this poor man who had to try to clarify artillery when demanded to. And they're in a spot where it changes. It's their men now in that area, at this designated area that he's trying to get it clear. And it takes a second, takes a minute. Now, no, don't do it. Quick.
It's too late.
And it's late. 600 men all over the place with thousands of Vietnamese coming out of the ground, dropping from trees. But there were 2 helicopters that didn't get the message. Don't fly over such and such a point. Artillery. They saw the action. And the captain was, or the pilot was young, and the medic was young, 23. And he got prepared with a couple baskets, and they got over a spot, and it was bad. And you could see them wounded down below, and he said, go down. He went down. He dropped with the basket, put about 6 wounded men in, placed some rifles around. But as he was watching the activity within 50 to 100 yards, he realized this is chaos. And the enemy's going to walk right through here, in cold, and it's crazy. So he kept doing it. And the ships were taking some shots from rifles, and it showed the extent of the combat in other areas that were going on in the film with newcomers to the field and stuff that happens with people in moments of shock and other stuff. Very explosive, active kind of filming, and yet they cut every once in a while to the 2 older parents. And they're talking about somebody you don't see yet. It happens in the film several times, and you get to know them for a brief moment with their dialogue and a little action they're in, and coming back and some dialogue, but they didn't get home. And the kid just keeps trying to help, moving to places for more wounded, getting them to put it in the basket. And the pilot lets them know, we're still okay, we're okay, keep going, we're going to go, we got to get out of here soon, keep going, keep going. 60 men he saved. 60 men. And he got killed, but he picked up a rifle when he ran out of baskets or whatever. They started coming in his area, so he started dealing with it and didn't run away. No place to go. And he got killed. And the point of this is that you meet all the people who, after 30, 40 years, every family that was affected with survival or death, every person who was familiar, and the men who survived from the field had worked at getting that one kid the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
You meet them, and they were all in the last scene when he was given the award. All of those real people were in the movie.
Yeah, as I listen to you
it's
talk
just a
about
little
this,
bit of how there's no borders.
Yeah, it's
in life.
I think it's interesting because you as an actor had to think about this scene, go into it, and live like a history.
In Deer Hunter.
Yeah, live a history lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or live the scenario, understanding that you have to develop the emotion and the ability to carry this out, but to understand the story on a level that you choose to understand it.
Well, I was younger when I was getting talked about.
And that heart of it.
Then
awesome.
Vietnam War, and I was doing the best I could with my dad. He did his things quiet, never talked about it. Visiting people, going to places. Men he didn't know. I don't know, but I didn't think he would know. And so, one kid, and the thing at home was active. One of my good friends in school was Jeff Miller. There was 2 Jeff Millers. They were both the highest intelligence in the class, so they were always arguing. But Jeff went to Kent State. And we talked on the phone because I didn't go to college. I started working like 16, or really got help with that, with people teaching me how to sing in church, and then a little training for going to a nightclub.
And he's quite the singer, just in case anybody didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Everybody has this cough. Everybody.
Yeah.
So, but singing helps softly. Softly I will treat you, I will leave you softly. For my heart would break if you should wake and see me go. It's a guy slipping away. But this period of the Vietnam War, getting introduced to recovery for myself after a few years, and sharing time after going to places like even hospice, and then to recovery, physical and post-hospital recovery with guys that were 18 still, some 20s. They were all very young. I knew the older guys from Second World War, Korean War. Not many guys wanted to go to visit people. It's just like there's enough, maybe. I don't know. They had known or done what they could. But a lot of my generation was affected by all the news. Okay. So we were it was on TV. We watched the war on TV, same like now.
Right.
And so they're trying to get more people in the service. I see a lot of people who just going from high school to training. But when I get to the camp, when I got to that one camp, I realized how many people are taking advantage, first of all, of recovery from addiction or alcohol, and secondly, for mental health help and service and sacrifice. Sometimes it's like what I think is chatter. This is it. This is as good as it gets right now.
Wow. Well, hey, it's great to have you on the show. I would love for you to be back at some point if that's in the cards. But any last words? And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, definitely through me, you can hit me up.
Yeah.
Recon Chief had set me up with you. And that's Mike DeLeon. He was on last week. You can get a hold of him through Mike. But
that was my introduction to Recon Chief, was from a young man named Nelson, and met him through the program. But I've lost touch with a lot of people and stuff, like the Wounded Warrior guys I want to try to stay with, hook up again, and women that are able to share their dialogue and want to. And I've noticed it takes training both ways, service and sacrifice. Right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I'm doing okay.
Well, thanks, John.
I still got hair.
Hey, thanks. Hey, it's great to have John on the show. This is Combat Vet Vision. This is a place where we really get to kind of communicate and talk about things that are really important, down to earth and deepness. I much appreciate everybody for listening to the show. This had a very unique tone to it. Definitely check the show out again sometime, or any of the other shows that are out there that may help you out as a combat vet or a veteran, as well as, it's there to educate the public and to yeah, and to allow others to see a scope into the vision of a combat vet and combat scenario stuff that we don't always have that look in, including myself. So until next time, hey, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief, signing off. Strength and honor, out.
Under blue skies, the only way, like the sun.